Since I married Kevin, I have always worked full-time. He is an excellent businessman employed by a multinational company. And we were called the ideal couple by those around us. Our marriage was going smoothly. We had acquired a new 5-bedroom house, and I thought we would continue to have happy days ahead. However, one day, Kevin made a sudden proposal. "Sarah, I think things at home would run smoother if you switched to part-time work." I was surprised and anxious by his words, but considering how busy Kevin's job was getting, I decided to cooperate. For our marriage, I decided to support Kevin and switched from full-time to part-time work. With the reduced hours, I had more time for household chores. And our home was always clean and well organized. I started cooking more elaborate meals. And I looked forward to the time waiting for Kevin's return. However, gradually, Kevin's attitude began to change. Kevin started to look down on me. "Sarah, your job is easy, right? It's only natural that you do the household chores." There was no longer any word of thanks for my efforts and care, only cold words increased. Kevin prioritized his career, taking my support for granted. Our married life, which seemed to be going smoothly with the move to a new 5-bedroom house, large living room and big kitchen, was filled with our dreams. But I had never thought that dream would collapse in a moment. The day after the move, when I returned from work, I noticed unfamiliar voices in the house. As I stepped into the living room, there were Kevin, an unknown woman, and a young girl, all chatting happily. "Sarah, get out now." The mistress, Amy, and their daughter, Mia, were smirking at me disdainfully. "Parasite, get out of the house. Someone like you doesn't belong here." Stunned, I could only pack my belongings. I loaded my personal items into cardboard boxes, put them in the car, and left the house. At that moment, my love for Kevin crumbled. I wasn't going to back down quietly. 2 weeks later, I arranged a meeting with Kevin. I returned to the house and said to him, "Kevin, I am single." Kevin's eyes widened, and he looked bewildered. I thrust the family register in front of him and coldly said, "Former husband, Kevin Thompson, as it is written here." You will understand the despair I felt, and now it's your turn to experience it. This was the beginning of my revenge. My name is Sarah. Kevin and I have been married for 15 years. We met at the workplace. I belonged to the development department of a major company. And Kevin was a promising employee dispatched from our parent company. We started working together on a new product development project. And naturally, we grew closer. Kevin was not particularly brilliant, but his earnest work and gentle demeanor earned him a good reputation, especially among female employees, who appreciated his mild smile and sincere attitude. I liked him too, but with an 8-year age difference, I told myself not to harbor any special feelings. However, as we spent more time together through work, I became attracted to his sincerity and kindness. One day, Kevin suddenly confessed, "Sarah, working with you, I feel so reassured. I seriously think I could build a family with such a wonderful person," he said with a serious look. Hearing his words, I was surprised and overwhelmed, knowing that male colleagues had been criticizing me behind my back for being a capable but unfriendly woman. Kevin's words were a great relief. After a year of dating, we got married. After the engagement, Kevin made a suggestion. "I'm not good with kids. So, I want to continue living just as a couple." I really wanted children. But being able to marry a man 8 years my junior at 33 was enough for me. And I gave up on having children. The marriage seemed to be going well. We both worked full-time, and our income was decent. Kevin was enthusiastic about his work and often talked about it at home. However, gradually after our marriage, Kevin's true nature began to show. Kevin easily broke the promise he had made before marriage to share the household chores. And most of it fell on me. While I managed the housework, Kevin would say nonchalantly, "Housework is a woman's job, right?" Stunned by his words. But considering his busy work schedule, I felt I had no choice but to do it. From then on, Kevin's attitude worsened. And he started blaming me for any small mistake in the housework. For example, one day after sending a message that he would be late due to overtime, I hurried home. As I greeted him, his face was sullen. "I'm sorry for being late, I'll make dinner right away." However, the meatloaf I had prepared was missing. As I searched the fridge, Kevin said, "I had the meatloaf for lunch because I took the afternoon off. You can make the potato soup again, right?" I felt deflated. There was no more ground meat or potatoes at hand. Going to the supermarket to buy the ingredients and starting from chopping onions. It would take over an hour to finish. I'll have to go buy ingredients, so it won't be ready until after 9 p.m. "It's not my fault I didn't know it was for dinner," Kevin complained, rolling his eyes. "Don't get mad just because I snacked on the dinner. I had no other choice for lunch. If you have time to complain, why don't you just hurry up and go buy it?" His words angered me. But that day I reluctantly went to the supermarket to buy dinner ingredients and, despite my tired body, I had to start making dinner all over again. Kevin's demands escalated over time, and my spirit wore thin. Yet, I continued to dedicate myself to him. However, all my efforts seemed in vain due to Kevin's betrayal. Our marriage life, initially like a dream, gradually turned cold as Kevin's respect for me faded. Still, I endured and tried to maintain our home while balancing household chores and work. As our marriage continued, Kevin's job got busier. And he was assigned a transfer to a different region. I've been appointed as the leader of a new project. "I'm really being relied on," he proudly said. While I was happy for Kevin's success, his transfer made me anxious about the big changes it would bring to our life. I decided to move with Kevin to the new location, but at his suggestion, I quit my full-time job and switched to part-time. "Sarah, if you switch to part-time, I think things at home would run more smoothly," he said. I agreed with his words and decided to quit my job to focus on household chores and supporting Kevin. Life after moving was tougher than expected. Kevin's job became even busier, and he spent less time at home. Thus, I ended up supporting our home alone while balancing household chores and part-time work. Kevin would say, "It's a big help that Sarah switched to part-time." But he never helped with the housework. My part-time job was at a national supermarket chain. Continuing to work there allowed me to gain experience over time. Despite being part-time, I had been doing the same job for over 10 years and took pride in my work. However, Kevin's attitude remained unchanged, and he constantly criticized me for any small imperfections in housekeeping. For instance, one day after returning from work, Kevin complained, "There's a tiny speck of dust in the corner of the hallway." I had just rushed to prepare dinner and clean after returning from my part-time job. But Kevin harshly said, "My mother would have kept the house perfectly clean even if she was sick with a high fever." Despite feeling crushed, I continued to endure for Kevin's sake. With Kevin's frequent transfers, our life regularly changed. I managed to continue my part-time work with each transfer. But adapting to new environments each time was challenging. Kevin would say, "My salary alone is enough. Sarah doesn't need to work," yet he tried to control my income for his own spending. Over time, I began to question my life as I struggled with household chores and part-time work, realizing that I was losing sight of my dreams and desires. I wondered if continuing to devote myself to Kevin really made me happy. One day, while talking with a colleague at work, I opened up about my feelings. "Actually, I keep working part-time for my husband, but I really want more time for myself." My colleague listened and kindly advised, "Sarah, it's important to take care of your own life too." Inspired by those words, I slowly started to think about my future. One winter day, Kevin caught the flu. Living on a single floor of a company housing complex, it was difficult to separate our living spaces like in a detached house. Considering Kevin's condition, I moved the blanket to the living room and set up a separate bedroom. I continued to care for him, offering porridge and jelly drinks, but he seemed dissatisfied. A wife sleeping in a different room while her husband is bedridden? Is that what a wife is supposed to do? Kevin rasped irritably. While I apologized, considering work the next day and trying to avoid infection, I explained, "I'm sorry, but I have work, and it would be bad if I caught it." Kevin snapped back, eyes rolling, "Cold woman. What's more important, me or your job?" Though heartbroken by his words, I decided to meet his demands. Eventually, I moved the futon back to the living room and chose to nurse him through the night. As expected, as Kevin recovered, I fell ill with the flu myself. Lying exhausted with over 100-degree fever, Kevin looked down at me coldly and said, "Don't pass it to me. I'm going on a spa trip with colleagues." Stunned by Kevin's cold attitude, I asked, "Can you buy me some sports drinks or soup?" However, Kevin retorted, "You can do that yourself. You can't go out, so it's impossible." And he left for his trip. As the door closed, I lay in the blanket, tears streaming down my face. Surprised by the gap between the kind Kevin I knew during our dating days and this cold person, I felt my affection for him rapidly cooling as I dealt with the pain and high fever. After managing to stay hydrated and recover from the flu, I decided to put into action a plan I had been considering for some time. Since our marriage, I had lived in company housing to accommodate Kevin's transfers. But I planned to stay here during the next transfer. Kevin had returned to the head office located in the neighboring town, where there was land inherited from my parents. I thought of building the spacious single-family home I had always dreamed of there. When I discussed it with Kevin, he was initially surprised, then his face lit up. "A new 5-bedroom single-family house? Cool. You can choose the interior and layout as you like," he said. Kevin smiled happily, and it had been a long time since I saw that smile. 6 months later, our house was completed, and we moved out of the company housing. My workplace was short-staffed, so I took the moving day off and a paid leave the next day. I left the unpacking to Kevin and went to work. When I returned, I noticed an unfamiliar pink car in our brand-new driveway. With a sinking feeling, I hurried to the entrance and found, next to Kevin's leather shoes, a pair of yellow sneakers and small pumps tossed aside. From the end of the hallway, I could hear Kevin's cheerful voice, a young girl's youthful tone, and a young woman's voice. "Mia, do you like my house?" "Of course, Daddy. I can brag about it to everyone." The woman laughed in a gratingly shrill voice, and I felt anger rising within me. "What's going on here? Who are these people?" Kevin, noticing me, looked down coldly and said, "Sarah, leave now. I've decided to live here with Amy and Mia." "What?" seeing the mistress and her daughter acting as if it was natural for them to live in my house broke my heart. The mistress spat out, "Parasite, get out," and Kevin echoed her cold attitude. Realizing that talking further was futile, I calmly replied, "Understood," packed my belongings into moving boxes, loaded them into my car, and left the house. Although it felt like all my efforts and love were wasted in an instant, I did not cry. I told myself I had to be strong. In the days following my departure, I stayed in a temporary apartment while preparing for my new life. I decided to separate from Kevin and began the process of divorce. Meanwhile, Kevin contacted me, and we arranged to meet in 2 weeks. When I returned to the house, I confronted Kevin, who casually suggested, "Sarah, let's try a trendy separate marriage." I smiled coldly and replied, "I am single, though." Kevin and the mistress froze. "What are you talking about?" Kevin asked, puzzled. Silently, I presented the family register. Former husband Kevin Thompson read the document. Both Kevin and the mistress gasped. I quietly said, "I will let you experience the same kind of despair I felt." This event was a turning point for me. Realizing that enduring Kevin's cold attitude and insensitive actions was pointless, I decided to end our marriage and reclaim my life. As I prepared to start anew, I moved out of the temporary apartment and into a new home. Determined to leave Kevin and the past behind, I started to take steps towards my future. First, I sought a divorce lawyer recommended by friends and colleagues. In my first meeting with the lawyer, I explained everything and discussed the legal proceedings. The lawyer listened intently and assured me, "Sarah, I will do everything to protect your rights." This gave me some peace of mind. Next, I hired a detective to gather evidence of Kevin's infidelity and verbal abuse. The detective gathered photos and recordings of Kevin's actions. With this evidence, I was ready to confront Kevin about the divorce. At the meeting, Kevin initially refused to discuss divorce and instead accused me. "Are you betraying me after all I've done?" However, I calmly presented the evidence and outlined my terms for the divorce. Kevin, unable to hide his surprise and anger, slowly softened his stance as he realized my determination. The negotiations were handled through my lawyer, who defended my position strongly and dealt firmly with Kevin, initially resistant to paying compensation and dividing assets. With the divorce proceedings underway, I began preparing for my new life. First, by finding a new place to live and planning the move. With the lessons learned from my marriage, I was ready to pursue happiness on my own terms. Once the divorce was finalized, I left the temporary apartment and moved into my new home. I decided to return to full-time work, using my skills to build an independent life. The tough experiences with Kevin became a significant lesson, teaching me to prioritize my happiness and build healthy relationships. With the support of friends and family, I gradually adjusted to my new life. One day, while returning from work, I stopped at a cafe and picked up a book about restarting life. As I read, tears filled my eyes. I cherished my new beginning and resolved to move forward beyond my past hardships. Though my marriage with Kevin had ended, I had gained a new life. I was determined to pursue my happiness and lead a fulfilling life, strengthened by my experiences to carve out a better future. Meanwhile, Kevin, having completely lost our relationship, saw his life dramatically change. His affair with Amy and his relationship with their daughter Mia fell apart, leaving him isolated and alone. Losing his job and facing financial difficulties, Kevin was forced to confront his mistakes. Even after the divorce was finalized, Kevin could not let go of his obsession with me and continued to harass me. Amid Kevin's retaliatory actions, I found myself increasingly cornered. His harassment escalated, affecting both my workplace and personal life, spreading malicious rumors through anonymous letters, threats, and even contacting my friends and family to tarnish my reputation. One day, I was summoned by my boss at work, who asked, "Lately, there have been many complaints and rumors about you. What's going on?" I explained the situation and honestly discussed Kevin's harassment. However, my boss couldn't fully believe my story, resulting in a loss of trust at work. Furthermore, some friends and family members, deceived by Kevin's cunning lies, began to treat me coldly. The relationships with those who had supported me wavered, and I felt increasingly isolated. Kevin's actions almost cost me everything. One day, when I returned home, I found scratches on my front door, evidently made by someone. In my mailbox, there was an anonymous threatening letter. I immediately reported these incidents to the police, who began an investigation. But proving that Kevin was the perpetrator was difficult. Nevertheless, I did not falter and took measures to enhance my security, and alerted those around me. During this time, my resilience was tested daily. To move forward, I needed more effort than ever to not succumb to Kevin's harassment. I continued to have discussions with friends and family, striving to make them understand my truth. Gradually, some began to listen and trust me again. However, Kevin's actions left a deep scar on my heart. Due to his behavior, I temporarily lost trust at work and even experienced shaky relationships with friends. Still, I refused to yield to his retaliation and continued to assert my rightful stance. Over time, people around me began to understand my efforts and truth, and I regained their trust. One day, Kevin's actions escalated to damaging my car. I reported this to the police again and submitted evidence of his actions. The police issued a warning to Kevin and placed a restraining order against him. Through these incidents, I realized how abnormally obsessed he was. Despite this, I continued to work hard to reclaim my life. To build a new life, I eliminated Kevin's influence and looked forward to a positive future. The support of friends, family, and my strong will kept me going. Although the reality after the divorce was harsh, I overcame it and regained control of my life. Without succumbing to Kevin's retaliatory actions, I continued to focus on my future. Finally, I was able to start a new life. One evening, when I returned home, I discovered that my windows had been broken and my room ransacked. Trembling with fear, I immediately called the police, who investigated the scene. It was clear that Kevin was responsible, but with no concrete evidence. The police were initially helpless. However, I did not give up and installed security cameras to prevent similar incidents. Kevin's retaliation made me nearly lose everything, but I resolved to stand up again. To regain trust at work, I reignited my passion for my job and worked hard to change the opinions of those around me. I continued to treat friends and family with sincerity and gradually regained their trust. One day, a friend reached out and said, "Sarah, I'm sorry for doubting you before. After hearing your story, I've decided to believe you again." I couldn't stop my tears. That single sentence was immeasurably comforting during my isolation. Though Kevin's retaliation continued, I never gave in and kept moving forward. I considered legal action against his actions and consulted with a lawyer to develop strategies. I successfully applied for a restraining order against Kevin again, striving to create a safer environment. The battle with Kevin was ongoing, but I never gave up on reclaiming my life. Despite nearly losing everything, I maintained the strength to move forward. The support of friends and family, along with my own strong will, sustained me. As Kevin's harassment began to subside, I started to see hope in my new life. However, Kevin's harassment never completely stopped. He continued to torment me with new tactics. I decided to prepare for retaliation without succumbing to his actions. First, I hired a detective again to monitor Kevin's actions and gather evidence. The detective meticulously recorded his activities and collected evidence of his illegal actions. Additionally, I cooperated with a lawyer to prepare for legal proceedings against Kevin. One day, I received a report from the detective that Kevin was headed to my workplace. I immediately contacted my workplace to alert them. Kevin appeared at my workplace, shouted abuse at me, and caused a disturbance involving others. I remained calm and recorded his actions until the police arrived. When the police arrived, Kevin was detained. I applied for a restraining order against him on the spot and successfully restricted his actions legally. This temporarily halted Kevin's retaliatory actions. But I could not completely dismiss the possibility of him scheming again. As part of my counterattack against Kevin's rampage, I decided to consult the media. By publicizing the reality of Kevin's harassment, I hoped to curb his actions. With the help of friends and family, we created an article exposing Kevin's behavior and published it in newspapers and online. When the article was published, social condemnation of Kevin's actions increased, and his reputation plummeted. He faced disciplinary action from his company and received social sanctions. This temporarily stopped his retaliatory actions and the harassment against me subsided. However, Kevin never completely abandoned his obsession with me. He tried to contact me again, but I further strengthened the legal proceedings against him and successfully extended the restraining order. I allowed no compromise in my stance against Kevin's actions and maintained a firm opposition. Through the battle with Kevin, I rediscovered my own strength and resilience. I continued to fight to carve out my future without yielding to his retaliatory actions. With the support of friends and family, I continued to work hard to build a new life. Once Kevin's retaliatory actions finally subsided, I was able to take control of my life again. I renewed my resolve to completely eliminate his influence and move forward towards a positive future. Overcoming the battle with Kevin made me stronger and allowed me to feel proud of myself. After the battle with Kevin, I finally freed myself from his influence and prepared to start a new life. Strengthening the legal measures against Kevin's retaliatory actions enabled me to fully prevent his approaches, and I was finally able to regain a peaceful everyday life. As I began my new life, I decided to reassess my career. After the divorce, I returned to full-time work, reigniting my passion for my job. The strength and resilience I gained through the battle with Kevin were applied to my work, and I regained my professional reputation by achieving results. My relationships with friends and family gradually healed, and we were able to support each other again. In particular, my friend Rico constantly encouraged me and helped me through the difficult times. Her presence was a significant support and gave me the courage to make a fresh start. One day, I reunited with friends and had a joyful time. Reconnecting with them strengthened our bonds and brought peace to my heart. This reunion motivated me to participate more in social activities and enjoy meeting new people. I also managed to increase the time I spent pursuing my hobbies and interests. I reclaimed my enjoyment of movies, reading, and travel, activities I had previously restrained myself from, and actively engaged in enriching my life. These activities healed my heart and helped me regain a positive outlook. In my new life, I learned to prioritize my happiness, overcoming the pain and sadness from my marriage to Kevin. I relearned the importance of valuing myself. I vowed to pursue my happiness and build healthy relationships going forward. While regaining fulfillment in my work and personal life, I also embraced new challenges. For instance, I participated in training and seminars to enhance my skills and deepen my expertise, which allowed me to approach my job with more confidence. I also got involved in volunteer activities, growing personally by contributing to society. Helping people in need allowed me to utilize my experiences and learn the importance of compassion. Through these activities, I found new meaning in my life. Having overcome the battle with Kevin, I emerged stronger and established myself as an independent woman. I refreshed my determination to move forward towards a positive future, without looking back at the past with Kevin. Supported by friends and family, I took steps to pursue my happiness and lead a fulfilling life. The battle with Kevin taught me the importance of never giving up. No matter how difficult the situation, it's crucial to believe in oneself and continue moving forward with courage. I carried the strength and resilience gained from this experience into my new future. I was able to regain control of my life, building healthy and enriching relationships. Moving forward, I will continue to prioritize my happiness and embrace new challenges to forge a better future. Having overcome the battle with Kevin, I am determined to continue living strongly. One day, I became involved in a new project at work, where I met Ben, a sincere and dedicated man. Ben, known for his passion and responsibility at work, was well respected by his peers. Working together on the project, I gradually developed feelings for him. Ben also seemed to have feelings for me. As we understood each other through work and built a trusting relationship, we naturally became attracted to each other. One day, to celebrate the success of our project, "Sarah, I really enjoy the time I spend with you, and you always make me feel positive. I want to be with you always," Ben said. His earnest words warmed my heart, and tears naturally flowed. "Thank you, Ben. I want to be with you too," I replied. We began a relationship, supporting each other and building a new bond. Although my past with Kevin sometimes cast a shadow, Ben understood and accepted my past. Supported by his kindness and understanding, I became even stronger. As my relationship with Ben deepened, I rediscovered my happiness. I cherished the time spent with him, which healed my heart. Ben accepted all of me, and I grew to care deeply for him. We built a loving and supportive relationship. The lessons learned from the battle with Kevin greatly influenced our relationship. Once again, I reaffirmed my determination to face any difficulty without yielding, and to pursue my happiness. Through my relationship with Ben, I found new love and hope. Together, we looked towards the future and actively engaged in new challenges. For example, we started a project together to contribute to society. Our goal was to grow together and build a rich life. With Ben's support, I polished my skills and found the courage to try new things. Our relationship deepened day by day, and the time we spent together strengthened our bond. Through my relationship with Ben, I found love and hope again. His presence healed my heart and helped me regain a positive outlook. Although the past with Kevin occasionally cast a shadow, I was determined to build a new future with Ben. Grateful for his support and affection, I also came to cherish him deeply. We built a loving and supportive relationship, and with Ben's support, I polished my skills and embraced new challenges. overcoming my battle with Kevin, I emerged stronger and established myself as an independent woman. Without looking back at the past with him, I reaffirmed my commitment to moving forward towards a positive future. Supported by friends and family, I took steps to pursue my happiness and lead a fulfilling life. As my relationship with Ben deepened, I found true happiness. I cherished the time spent with him, and the days we spent together healed my heart. Ben accepted all of me, and I came to value him deeply. We built a relationship of mutual support and love, for which I am deeply grateful. I resolved anew to move forward toward a positive future without dwelling on my past with Kevin. Supported by friends and family, I pursued my happiness and took steps toward a fulfilling life. The battle with Kevin taught me the importance of never giving up. No matter how tough the situation, it's crucial to believe in oneself and continue moving forward with courage. With the strength and resilience gained from this experience, I vowed to continue walking towards a new future. I will prioritize my happiness and embrace new challenges to carve out a better future. Having overcome my struggles with Kevin, I am determined to continue living strongly. Another great joy awaited me in my new life, marriage to Ben. I decided to walk with him into our new life together. And our wedding was an intimate yet heartwarming event, surrounded by friends and family. After our wedding, we searched for a new home and prepared to live together. Our new home was a place filled with our hopes, a foundation for building our future together. We cherished our time together, striving to make each day fulfilling. Married life with Ben marked a new beginning of happiness for me. Grateful for his support and love, I came to value him deeply. We built a loving and supportive relationship. Our bond deepened day by day, and the time we spent together strengthened our connection. Through my relationship with Ben, I rediscovered love and hope. His presence healed my heart and helped me regain a positive outlook. Having overcome my battle with Kevin, I became a stronger and more independent woman. With a determination to move forward, supported by friends and family, I pursued my happiness and took steps toward a fulfilling life. Looking forward to a future filled with new love and hope, I am now able to walk with confidence. Continuing to prioritize my happiness, I am committed to embracing new challenges to forge a better future. I am determined to keep living strongly.